Today's episode is brought to you in honor of the Grand Prairie Historical Organization and Museum, located at 1516 West Main Street in North Grand Prairie. This year, the historical organization celebrated its 50th anniversary. Become a member today and become a part of preserving the history of Grand Prairie. The museum is open Monday through Saturday from 1 to 4, staffed by the amazing volunteers from the organization. The museum has both permanent and rotating exhibits, and every time I go, I see something new that I've never seen before or new items that have been recently donated by residents. This museum is free and is a wonderful way to spend an afternoon. Tell them that the Faces of Grand Prairie sent you. Want to help us keep Faces of Grand Prairie going? Buy us a coffee. It's a simple way to support local media that celebrates and educates our hometown.
So on November the 8th, which is a Saturday, the city of Grand Prairie, we will have the first Grand Prairie Ruthie Jackson Veterans Day Parade. This year we won't take the streets. We're going to have the parade. It'll go around the water front right there behind the Epic. The speakers and entertainment will be at the Jam Box part there. So it's a collaboration of the community coming together, putting together a Veterans Day parade because we have so many veterans that are buried throughout the city of Grand Prairie to where we want to make sure that we recognize the veterans. And so we will be doing the Veterans Day parade here in Grand Prairie on Saturday the 8th. And then on Monday, the high school students on November the 10th, we will be out here at 9 o'clock that morning and we'll be watching the headstones of the veterans and placing American flags. So if you have some American flags you want to donate and you want to just give some helping hands, come on out here and help us like clean off the headstones of the veterans buried out here and place the American flags out here. Yes, Antioch Life Park Cemetery up here. They have a website, and what we could do is give them in contact with Daryl Clark, and he'll be able to take donations for the cemetery. Hi, I am Dr. Angela Lucky-Vaughn, and we're here in Grand Prairie, and we're at one of the oldest cemeteries here in Grand Prairie, which is the Antioch Life Park Cemetery. This cemetery is located right here on Mountain Creek Lake, which is a part of Dallas County. This is the home of the first Black church, which was Antioch Baptist Church. Also, this was the home of the Masonic Lodge out here, and Black families lived out here. This is where they educated their kids. This is where they worshiped. And this was the way of life during the particular time when Grand Prairie did not have paved streets. And as you can see, the state of Texas declared this as a historical cemetery, placing a marker here. And the Antioch Life Park Cemetery that have history here is Mose Jordan Sr., who has descendants that are actually buried here. He was one of your first slaves that came to Grand Prairie, and he came with the Jordan family that migrated here that is actually buried on the north side of Grand Prairie. But many of your slaves and Black Americans, this was the cemetery that they were being buried at here in Grand Prairie. So the Jordan family came to Grand Prairie around, David Jordan came around about 1852. This cemetery right here was established in 1881. And so there's a lot of history here. Many of my family members are actually buried here. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, a lot of cousins, a lot of uncles, aunts, relatives are buried at this cemetery right here. And also, this was a cemetery that Dallas County, at one particular time in history, used to bury pauper graves. Those are individuals that could not afford a burial site. So there's actually a location to where pauper graves, people was actually buried in that particular location too. So if you want to come inside, I could take you inside. And this cemetery have more than 100 veterans from World War I, World War II, Vietnam, and we can just go inside and visit some of their graves here. So you have this veteran that was buried in 1965 that served in World War II, L.D. Hayes. And behind you got James Denver Morton.
Now, how many of these are veterans of color, and how many do we know?
Yeah, well, most of the veterans that are out here, except the ones that are recently being buried out here, the ones that was buried out here prior, these were African American veterans. And this, like I said, was listed as the Black Cemetery, were Black individuals. This was a cemetery that they had to be buried at. The Veteran Cemetery, the FW Veteran Cemetery, it was not in existence.
So where was the church located when it was here?
On this land out here, the church was out here, and when they would have church service, my great grandmother, whose name is Aula Reed, who provided some history to Ruthie Jackson that was covering this cemetery and history of Grand Prairie, she mentioned her father, Frederick Douglass Reed. They would drive their wagon all the way out here just to be able to have church. And on one night when he left having church services in his wagon, when he was getting ready to cross the railroads up there, his wagon was collided with the interurban train that came through Grand Prairie,
Wow.
killing some of his children. Those are the children that's buried at Grand Prairie High School. There's a tiny little cemetery that says the Reed Cemetery. Those are his kids.
Oh my goodness.
And they had left this area out here having church and was headed back home when that interurban train collided with them.
Wow.
And again, those graves over there is over 100 years old as well.
Wow.
Yes.
Angela sent me the link to her grandmother's interview with Ruthie Jackson on It Happened in Grand Prairie. Many of Ruthie's interviews are uploaded to the city's official YouTube channel, and you'll find the link for this one in the description below. This episode was a part of a special series where Ruthie recorded interviews with residents who lived in an area known as The Line, the same neighborhood where Angela and I are filming today. If you've never watched these videos, I highly recommend checking them out. Ruthie's determination to preserve our town's stories on video created an incredible historical archive. What she was doing back then is basically the early version of podcasting, making her the OG of Grand Prairie podcasting. Enjoy this clip from Angela's grandmother's interview where she talks about The Line and Antioch Baptist Church.
Welcome to History Tape number 8 of It Happened in Grand Prairie, and we're bringing back the memories of Grand Prairie on this historic tape. This is January the 27th, 1986, and we have two very exciting guests today. But before we introduce those, we would like to tell you just a very mini thing about the Black community in Grand Prairie, Texas. There were 3 special areas of Grand Prairie where there was a concentration of the Black community, and those 3 are the Dalworth area, which is in southwest portion of Grand Prairie near the Tarrant County line along Jefferson and South. Also, the Shady Grove community, which is in north Grand Prairie, north of I-30 and past the Trinity River. Also, at one time, there was a very significant congregation of the Black community at what is called the Line, and that's Theline, located out near the old Antioch Cemetery and church and school, and that is now in the body of Mountain Creek Lake. And you can see the area from Hardy Road and probably Avenue F in that portion of Lake Crest, of Lakeview and Grand Prairie. But now to bring you some more details of that wonderful settlement, or the settlements of the Black community, we're very delighted to bring 2 that are related. Helen Harden, we're so delighted to welcome you to the show today.
Thank you. It's nice to be on the show too and to talk about Black history as it was.
Wonderful. And as a member of the historical organization, we're delighted to welcome you wearing that hat too, because you have done a significant amount of research and have helped greatly in that, and we want to thank you publicly for your documentation that we have turned over to the Grand Prairie Memorial Library.
Well, thank you. I just wanted the memories to be where it was available to all people rather than in my house.
All right, now, Helen Reed Hardin. And when we give you the name Reed, that is very significant in that that is a long time name that has been associated with the black community in Grand Prairie, Texas. And we have as our next guest, Iola Reed Smith. Iola, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm delighted to be here too myself, and I was looking forward to this.
Wonderful. Now, Iola Reed Smith is very important to Grand Prairie's history documentation because this young lady remembers the time when we had the line, and we're counting on her to help us fill in some of the gaps that may be missing from our historical documentation. And Iola, we'd like for you to start by bringing back to your memory the time when your folks came to the Grand Prairie area. And when you tell that, I'd like for you to tell your mother's name, your father's name, and etc., so you can bring back some of those good names to this tape. Would you do that and look right out into your camera and tell us about it?
Yes, I would like to say that we came here in 1916, but my mother, she wasn't with us, but I came with my sister. She lived here. She was Lola Jones, and the Jones had the farm down where the lake, they're in the middle of the lake now. And I went to school here in Grand Prairie, out here on the line. And at that time, we just had to go to school in the hall, at the Masonic Hall, because they didn't have a school. And then I stayed here for a long time, and we had the hall, and the church was organized. The African Methodist Church was organized at that time in 1915. And so I have some pictures. They took the pictures of those churches. And we had a large family. It was quite a few families that's out on this line. And they was the Sheltons and the Jordans and Dales and the Watsons. They lived out there. So this is what I know about this.
Auntie, you remember that the school you went to was called the Freedman School, right?
Yeah.
That when they organized the school, it was called the Freedman School?
Yeah.
All right, was that located at the line area?
It was in the line area, yes.
Yeah,
Well, I have found some research in the Dallas County records where there was a Freetown
this is
school.
what other schools.
Is that your school? Was
That's
the
it.
Freetown
Uh-huh.
school? Well,
Later
All
on,
right.
they named it Freetown School.
All
But
right.
in the beginning, to identify it as a school for ex-slaves, they call it the Freedman School. And Freetown out there, the line Freetown, simply meant that this is where the slaves had came, the ex-slaves had came to this area and settled there. And many of them came from what we call the Black Belt. There's a book at the library that has this information in it. And of
Would
our
you
own
name
grandparents,
that book so
I
that anyone
can't
else-
remember the
That's
name,
all right.
but it's in the reference area. And it talks about Texas and Texas history.
Wonderful.
It tells you about the ex-slaves, the blacks coming to this area, migrating from the eastern and the southern end of the state, and they came here to make a better life for themselves.
All right, now the Freetown or the line area was long before Dalworth was settled. Is this correct?
Well, the people who lived in Dalworth,
I see.
but it's just about 3 or 4 families up there. And the children had to come back on the line to go to school.
All right, now I want you to tell me about the school. You said there was a Masonic Lodge there, and that's where they went to school.
That's what we had to school.
All right, now there's a Masonic Lodge in Dalworth. That is a later version, right?
They
That's the
moved
same
it
lodge.
up there. They moved at home.
In other words, the hall that is now located in Dalworth is the
Nathan,
one
It
that
was on the line.
Isn't that splendid to get to know that? Now tell me, what church was located out at the line area?
Antioch.
That was the
Baptist-
Antioch
Baptist
Baptist.
Church.
Now, there was not a Methodist,
No, not.
but there was an Antioch Baptist in conjunction with the Masonic Hall that was there.
Yeah.
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
What else did you have other than a Masonic Hall, which also served as a schoolhouse? Can you tell me who taught school there, please, Howla?
The lady, the name was Mrs. Chapman. She taught school there.
All right. And were you under the direction of the Dallas County Schools into a county school?
I'm sure it was, but I was 12 years old.
You were 12 years old.
Yeah.
Was your school like mine in that maybe in one room you had as many
Had
as 5
all
grades?
the classes, all the grades in that room.
All the grades?
From the first to the, I think to the 8th grade or something like that.
First to the 8th was in the Masonic Hall out at Freetown, which was known as the Line.
And an interesting thing,
Mr. Darrell, he just recently purchased the cemetery. He have not owned this cemetery more than 7 years. When I met him and told him the significance of the cemetery and why it's important that we maintain the cemetery and put resources in it as far as making it look good. He didn't know the history of it, and so he became so passionate about it and helped us get the historical marker, came up with the funding, and that's how we were able to get the historical marker.
Wow. So how much have y'all done research about these veterans? Like, do we know anything about them?
We have a list of who the veterans are, as far as what branch of services they serve, and on some of the veterans, I usually go to the library and I do ancestry. I'm trying to find the next kin. Maybe there are descendants of these veterans that's out here that may not even know that they had like a great uncle or aunt that served in the military out here. And that's how we're trying to notify them to actually come out and participate when we're actually out here laying the flags.
So do we know how many of these people were Grand Prairie residents, or did they
Yes, all of these people were Grand Prairie residents.
They all were Grand Prairie residents.
They were all Grand Prairie residents. So underneath this tree, as you can see back here, you got Charlie Jordan, a private World War I.
Was he related to the Jordan family?
I'm not for sure if he was related to them, but he does carry the Jordan name. It's like the grounds are seeking down and they're coming up. And then you got other headstones right here, but the grass have overgrown it. This right here, this is of I believe this is gonna be Charlie Taylor, the Hall of Famer that they got the Recreation Center named after. This is his daddy, Tyree Taylor. And he served. This is the Hall of Famer's dad's grave right here. Tyree Taylor. When Mr. Taylor was alive, when Mr. Charlie Taylor was alive, I brought him out here. He stood right over here over his dad's grave. Veteran get a flag down.
Right.
So it would not matter if they didn't have family members.
He was only 26.
And the only people that can visit these veterans is going to have to be the citizens of Grand Prairie. We're going to have to come out here and show some love to these veterans. Because
how many do y'all normally have?
See, you don't see current flowers or nothing out here. They're not being visited.
How many do y'all normally have when you do volunteer days?
It's a small group. We have less than 20 people that come out here and volunteer. Sometimes we done had around about 5 volunteers. So there is a demand for volunteers to come and help out. And by involving the students, the children, when I'm gone, then maybe the children that came out here and provided volunteer hours, they will remember and they'll bring their families there, and it keep going. And that way we know that these veterans will have someone that will still have the passion inside of their blood to come out here and put American flags out, wash their headstones out.
Who buys the American flags? Do y'all get them donated?
What we do is we call and we do it the old way, ask for people to either bring flags out here or, do you have a couple of dollars where we can go to a dollar store and buy flags or go to Walmart? So that would even be nice. We can get a vendor to say, okay, we're going to donate the American flags. So that part we don't have.
Do we have any volunteer groups that like how you can adopt a street that have adopted this cemetery?
No, this cemetery is not even adopted. It's not even adopted, but it does need to be adopted. It's not adopted. It gets no funding from the city of Grand Prairie. And it would be good to get some funding, because not only do we put out American flags during Veterans Day, during Christmas, we partner with some of the local fraternities and sororities, and we come back out here and we put a wreath out during Christmas time. And that's something we started doing within the last 2 years. That way, you know, these veterans with the wreath, it's like what they're doing at the regular cemetery. But again, this is taking everybody coming together, because the federal government or the Veterans Administration or with the cemeteries, they won't give us no funding.
How many cemeteries do you think are like this in the United States?
I'm sure there are many that are like this. I don't think that this cemetery is any different, because again, if a city is not close to a military veterans designated cemetery, then there's going to be a cemetery where many veterans are going to be laid to rest at. So I don't think that this is the only cemetery that exists. I don't think that the government is doing accountability for the veterans. If we ask them today, or our congressional representative, we ask them today, where all the veterans buried when there was no veteran cemetery, they probably wouldn't give us an answer, because they don't know.
Yeah.
But when we bring it to their attention that you have a cemetery that have more than 100 veterans out here, you would think that would be important to them, but it's not. It's not. We've had congressional reps come out here. We've had state reps come out here. Have they sent any money for the cemetery? No.
Wow.
A point in history where you couldn't even walk out here like we're walking out here. That's why I decided to put my boots on. But because the grass is being maintained, it used to look like that.
Wow.
And Babyland actually is over there in that area where you actually have toddlers that was buried here, and it was so and bad way to where people started burying their animals here. If you go back and pull some news articles, that a couple of local news channels came out here because people thought that they could bury their pets, and they was burying their pets back here as well. So again, this is a historical site. This is where families live. This is a part of the history that people that are moving to Grand Prairie, and even people that's lived here all their life, don't even know that it even exists out here. Here's a Vietnam vet, Larry Eugene Jones.
I wonder how many of these names are on our veteran memorial.
None.
We don't have any of them up there?
None.
Oh.
None. There's not one of these veterans that are on the memorial there. None.
We need to do something
There's not
about
one.
that.
I think there's some like
my
over
gosh.
there on that tree. You see how all these headstones are just being covered up. It's just being covered up. Or you have the little bitty markers. This is a World War II vet right here, Judge Cole, U.S. Army. But wherever you have headstones, especially on these tree lines, all the tree lines need to be cut down in respect that people are there. And this is the part that gives me the chill factor, is that where do you start? No, you know, if you're elected officials, they coming out here every year and they send, but nobody's doing nothing. So where do you start?
Here's one right here.
World War II, A.W. Hawthorne, Private First Class, U.S. Army.
So someone different owns all that land that's behind that.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And they just don't want to sell it?
They don't, right now, they don't want to sell it. And you can't, because the trees have overgrown it, you can't like really go up in there to be able to visit the people inside of there.
So the person that owns this doesn't do anything to this?
No.
And she's very well aware?
Yes. Yes. That property land has been sitting there like that for decades now. And this is real purpose. This is real purpose. When we say the Kind Act projects, let's be kind to the cemetery. It shouldn't be about, oh, it's a private owned cemetery. We know that the private owned cemetery is owned by a veteran, and he don't have the resources. And then that land is not his land, and nobody's holding them accountable.
Right.
for the graves that's over there. When I was a little girl, we can actually come out here and go to the back there that's all grown up with trees because it was baby land, because we had relatives that had children that was actually buried. And then we had some relatives that's over there, and we used to call this the T line, but you can't get to their graves. You can't get to their graves. And then it used to be where you could see the headstones sticking out back there.
I'm surprised that these residents on the street don't make more of a fuss about this.
I think they don't make a fuss about it because, again,
They probably don't know.
Some of them don't know. And then, too, you got to remember the time of history that this was an old black cemetery. And so people just don't care. You don't have that many African Americans out here saying anything about it. And when you take a look at Grand Prairie City Council, it's majority minority. And nobody's saying nothing about the cemetery. But all of them knows about the cemetery because I made sure they knew about the cemetery. They all have come out here to this cemetery. The only person that really cared about this cemetery is deceased, and that was Ruthie Jackson. Right during the moment of history when she was trying to bring about diversity in the city of Grand Prairie and talk about rural areas in Grand Prairie as far as the cemetery and the historical perspective, she passed away. So when a person that had that much compassion and that much concern to do what was right, when they gone, then all of that goes with them. And so it becomes now left on deaf ear, quiet, not talked about.
But even from just an eyesore perspective, this is an eyesore in the middle of
A big eyesore.
It's like there's two different aspects. It's a cemetery and it's a burial ground for people, but it also is a huge eyesore. And the fact that we have code enforcement that doesn't come out here and force this owner to do anything about it is kind of nuts to me.
Right. And there are people buried there. As you see the prayer hands on the mausoleum, there's one person that's inside of the mausoleum there as well.
Why only one?
I don't know. That was owned by a family. And at that time when the person passed away, they put their family member inside there.
So they had the whole thing built like that?
They did. Yes, they did. So it looks like that there's some selling going on right there because you see some development over there where you got new graves going up over there. But this is this right here. And then back here in this little area where it looks like somebody wiped this off, because this was trees, but this looked like recently or something, somebody have cut this down right here. And there's graves over there. So I don't know what their plans are for this little area right here. And it would just be wrong to see someone put up a structure over bodies. And you see the headstones over there? And then and eventually you'll see those moved and they'll come over here. And some of them probably outdated graves, headstones. And if people just look and see, if you got a headstone that's saying 1909 or 1910 that's looking on marble that you know that was recent marble, that should be questioned. And that's what I believe that's happening over here, that, you know, people are buried, and then what you're doing is creating these newer headstones only to come place up over here somewhere. So,
but that's not really even where the gravesite is actually located.
No, because a lot of these headstones that used to be out here, because I've been coming out here for decades, you don't see them. I'm seeing them show up out here. So how do you move headstones, but the people are still underneath this land right here? That's not right. Okay, so on November the 8th, which is a Saturday, the city of Grand Prairie, we will have the first Grand Prairie Ruthie Jackson Veterans Day Parade. This year we won't take the streets. We're going to have the parade. It'll go around the water front right there behind the Epic. The speakers and entertainment will be at the Jam Box part there. So it's a collaboration of the community coming together, putting together a Veterans Day parade, because we have so many veterans that are buried throughout the city of Grand Prairie, to where we want to make sure that we recognize the veterans. And so we will be doing the Veterans Day parade here in Grand Prairie on Saturday the 8th. And then on Monday, the high school students on November the 10th, we will be out here at 9 o'clock that morning, and we'll be washing the headstones of the veterans and placing American flags. So if you have some American flags you want to donate and you want to just give some helping hands, come on out here and help us like clean off the headstones of the veterans buried out here and place the American flags out here. Yes, Antioch Life Park Cemetery up here. They have a website, and what we could do is give them in contact with Daryl Clark, and he'd be able to take donations for the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.